All right. Let's see. This is like towards the end of the year, and towards the end of the year, I always actually prepare all my journaling system and stuff like that. But then this time, I'm doing things a little bit differently. Now, before I press record, what happened was I was watching a lot of journaling videos that people were putting on their channels, and I realized that journaling is a very personal thing, in the sense that you you journal just the way you want to journal. So there is no right way and wrong way. So basically, what is more important is you try to get a book where the quality of the paper is really nice. The book should not be very big. It should be, like this is the size of my hand. It should be easy. It should be light. It should be, portable in the sense that you could carry it all around. Now, if you fly a lot, then maybe it should be small enough so that way while you are, you know, on a plane, you can, open up the tray, and then you can actually, write if you want to write, as long as there's no not enough turbulence going on and stuff like that. But the idea is to keep it very small. I've noticed some people were talking about having big journals. I don't agree with that, because when you have a big journal, it's very easy for you to be like, well, I'm not carrying that journal around. And the next thing you know, you just leave it at home, and then that's the end of it. So try to get something pretty decent. I think something the size of a mini iPad would be perfect, because I think that's a very good, decent size. Now, this one I bought um, uh, earlier in the year, and I mark it over here, and I have like a little bit of I use some masking tape, and then I write the date that when it starts and the date when it ends. So this one is like, I write a lot, so I'm going to probably have a few more pages going into January. Now, that's the other thing. Point number two that I want to make about journaling is you don't have to have a book that says starting January 1, ending December 31. You don't have to do that. For many, many years, I used to have journals where I would start from the year, because I thought it was better for record keeping. And I told myself, well, I don't really need that. All I have to do is just, get this masking tape that goes around, and I just write the starting date and the ending date, and then I will just file it into my shelf, and then that's about it. That's all I really need. So you don't really need to do that. That way, it gives you a freedom if you want to write more, because some of us love to write. I have fountain pens, and I'm huge with fountain pens. If you watch my other videos, you will know that I am such a fountain pen person. And I love the writing process. I just love writing. I mean, sometimes I can actually write 3-4 pages in one sitting, and I totally love it. Now I have a routine where I have what is known as morning pages and evening pages. So in the weekends, that's what I will do. Morning pages means I will go upstairs to my terrace, and I will sit down and write a couple of things in the beginning of the day, like in the morning, have a cup of coffee. And then evening pages, I will do the same thing when the day is ending, before the sun goes down. So that way, I give myself a little bit of a habit over the weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, that's what I will do. Does it mean that I do it all the time? No, not really. But I love to give myself a routine, so that way I sit down, no phones, no nothing, no electronic devices, no distractions, and I will simply write. Well, not exactly a brain dump, but I will just write, just because when I write, I just feel better. It's like I am taking things from my head and putting down on paper, and now my head feels a little bit more light, more relaxed, more calm. My journaling, the way I do it is, anything and everything goes into this one book. Now, I do have another journal where I do, because I'm studying cinema and film. So I do have, if I'm writing anything that has to do with DaVinci Resolve, editing, cinema, camera, lenses, I will put it in that journal, so that way it's very subject based. But this is my common journal, where I'll just throw everything in here, including my shopping list. How much money did I spend when I went for the groceries? And I would write it here. What was my power bill? I would write it over here, so that way I know that last month was my power bill more, or this month was my power bill more. just gives me a little bit of like, like a one place where I go to one book, and everything is in that one book. And I like to do it that way. I see other people where they tend to have this book for this book for this book for. I mean, you know what? I mean, come on. The next thing you know, you want to carry 3, 4 books along with you. I'm not so sure you really want to do that. Just go for one book. Like, spend money, buy one awesome book. One thing that I look for in books is the quality of the paper. I want to make sure that my paper is very good, because what happens is I'm using a fountain pen. I love using a fountain pen. I don't want to use any other pen when I'm writing, not unless if it's like special notes or something of that sort. And these fountain pens are like mini airbrush, mini paint brushes. So if the paper quality is not very good, there's going to be a little bit of feathering when I write, and I don't like that. Obviously, that's really not good. So whenever I buy a journal, I'm like, because sometimes I did buy a couple of books where when I used it, it just totally feathered, and I was like, oh, come on, that's just bad quality paper. So when I buy a book, that's the first thing I look for, is a certain feel to the paper, not waxy, but a little bit feel to the paper that I know is just not going to feather. That is if you are using fountain pen. I do recommend it, of course, but if you don't want to use a fountain pen, you want to use any kind of other pen, that's perfectly fine. The idea is to get into journaling, because it really helps you. It's like your little me time. Like for me, when I'm with my journal, it's like I'm having a meeting with myself. Like I'm meeting with myself, and I'm having a meeting. How's it going? How's my life? Is everything going on okay? There are some problems. How do I plan to deal with these problems? Or at least write the problem down, and maybe the solution will just work its way out, or maybe the solution will just come out in the process of writing. I don't like to I like to solve my problems, and maybe sometime I can't solve the problem today, but maybe I will solve the problem tomorrow by rereading pages. So that's the other thing about journaling, is you just don't write and then forget about it. Give yourself some time where you can sit down and you can read or flip through pages. Now, to me, I'm not going to show you my journal because there's a lot of private stuff inside. But to me, what happens is what I do with my journal is I will actually put page numbers at the bottom of my book. Now, this particular book, I did not do it because it was something that I was doing it because my cat passed away recently. So that when I did this book, it was like just everything about that. So I didn't sit down and do page numbers, but I can do page numbers even afterwards. But when you're getting a journal, always have page numbers, and give yourself the front few pages like blanket, and make it more like a content thing. So that way, see, the journaling process is something where it's not like you write one thing one time and then you never revisit that issue again. Sometimes you want to write it again and again, so that you're trying to work something out, you're trying to feel better. So there's a lot of repetitious, like a lot of things that I repeat in the writing. So when I do that, I like to reference or cross-reference with the page numbers, so that way I know that I spoke about this matter, but at 3 different pages or 3 different times in the book. So I like to page number it, and sometimes I will also cross-reference multiple books, so that way I have all my books. Now, that's just the way I do things. It doesn't mean that that's the way you should do it, but it's nice when you have page numbers, because I've noticed that anytime anybody's doing any journaling, nobody has ever spoken about page numbers, which I think is kind of weird, because when you have page numbers, it's nice to reference things. Like I will have this book, it's called the Blue Book, and if I write it in a different book, like I will try to not get the same color. I will mix up the colors, that way I can recognize each book separately. Before I used to do all black, then I started changing color because I thought color was kind of like fun to have different colors. So this one was a little bit of a nice blue. The one before that I had was, and I'll show it to you, was more like this, like and I don't know, like the shiny little red and stuff like that. And of course, I will put the date, starting and ending date on the spine, so that way when I put it on my shelf, I can actually look at the date, and I have it in some kind of an order, so that way it's kind of like easy for me to reference and go back, go forward if I need to. Plus, I give myself the idea of where I tell myself, like, listen, I don't want it to be like it starts on this date and ends on this date, and it must start on this date and end on this date. I don't want to do that. I want to keep it totally open. This way, I can change the style of my writing. I don't have to be fixed. I want to keep things interesting. The other thing I also do is I will also leave empty spaces on some of my pages. And what I do is my printer is totally gone at this point. I need to get another printer. Memo to self, get a printer. So I would put all these photographs on like a slide software, and I'll PDF it, and I'll go to a print shop and get some really good high quality print. Not heavy paper, not photo paper, just thin, because I will cut those pictures up and then I will stick it into my book. So that way, when I am later on looking at my book, it feels like a magazine, because there are pictures related to what I wrote, which is kind of interesting. Because it's like one of those things. Oh, my cat is here. Tutu, hi. I gotta go say hello to my cat. So anyway, so I just wanted to make this vlog. It has no start, no end. Just try to get yourself a book and start journaling. That's all I have to say, because I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, so thanks you for visiting. Thank you for listening, and I will be making some episodes about journaling, and I'll put it on my channel. Hopefully 2026 will be an awesome year. And now I'm going to go and say hello to my cat. So bye-bye. Yes, Tutu. Oh, Tutu. Look how dirty he is. He's fighting big tomcat now.